Okay, so I think we should make a start. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining us. My name's Louise Dye, and I'm Professor in Psychology, and I'm a joint appointment to the School of Psychology and the School of Food Science and Nutrition. And I also lead the Diet and Health theme in the Global Food and Environment Institute. The Global Food and Environment Institute is this interdisciplinary research community. We bring together members across academia, industry, and public policy to work on integrated challenges around food security and climate change. And I know there are lots of external people who join these seminars, so please have a look at the GFEI website, leeds.ac.uk/global food. And this seminar is part of a series of seminars. So if you check the chat function, you'll see a link to our series, and we advertise them on Eventbrite, our website, and on our Twitter feed. So you're very welcome to join any of those seminars which you find interesting. And before I introduce Professor Jayne Brookman, I just want to remind you a little bit of the seminar etiquette. So if you could make sure that your cameras and especially your microphones are switched off for the duration of the seminar. Jayne is going to present for about 20 minutes. And during that time, you can use the chat function with your questions. And if you address those to everyone, then we won't have any duplication. And then at the end of the seminar, we'll have a nice Q&A session where I'll collate the questions from with the chat. So the seminar is also being recorded, and you can see that on our YouTube channel too. So that link will be posted on our website after the seminar. So without further ado, I would like to welcome Professor Jayne Brookman. Jayne is a biochemist by training and has done all manner of things. I think I've known her for over 20 years. She originally came from the University of Manchester, has worked in drug discovery. She led the agri-food team at the KTN, the Knowledge Transfer Network, working with startups and establishing food manufacturing agricultural businesses, and then became the KTN lead for Innovate UK and DFID, and an Agri-Food Africa project that was funded by GCRF. And more recently, in September 2020, she moved to EIT Food as director of the Northwest region, to continue her passionate quest to ensure that innovation within the food system is pulled through to the consumer. We're very, very lucky to have Jayne here at Leeds as Royal Society Entrepreneur in Residence in the Global Food and Environment Institute. So without further ado, Jayne, I'll hand over to you. Welcome.
Thanks very much, Louise, and apologies for the slight technical malfunction there, getting my slides up. So good afternoon, everyone. As Louise has just introduced me, I'm Jayne Brookman, and I'm here to introduce you to EIT Food, giving you an overview of our aims and activities and seeing how you can possibly engage with us in the future. So EIT Food is a knowledge innovation community. Now, I have to give you a warning. There's going to be an awful lot of three-letter acronyms in my talk. So we're a knowledge innovation community, or KIC, funded from EU money via the European Institute of Innovation and Technology, or EIT. So we're the third KIC formed, and you can see us there on the slide. And like all of the KICs, our role is to engage with a wide range of stakeholders to develop products and services and to make Europe a much more competitive place. Obviously for us, it's within the food system. So our aims are to help build a healthy and sustainable food system, so healthy for both people and planet, working with partners all the way across in a pan-European network. Our structure contains 5 regional offices, and these deliver support for the range of activities that we do across Europe. And I'll talk about in a moment. And I lead the Northwest office, which covers the UK, Ireland and Iceland, which obviously is the green piece on the map on the slide. So we're a membership organisation with partners from industry, academia and the third sector, as you can see on the left two panels on that slide. But also we have a large focus on early stage companies and on startups and growing companies. If you look at the partnership from a regional perspective, so if you remember we're the UK, Ireland and Iceland, you can see on this slide here that we have a mixture of universities, large companies such as PepsiCo or Zoetis, the animal health company. We have organisations like Mattis, which is a RTO from Iceland, have the universities of University of Cambridge, Reading and Queen's University Belfast. We also have retailers in the sense of Waitrose. We have Agrimetrics, which is one of the Innovate UK AICs, Agri-Innovation Centres too. So we have a variety of partners, including early stage companies in our Rising Food Stars programme, which I will talk about later on. So like many of you who are on this call, we are looking to address challenges across the food system. And these precepts of societal, environmental and entrepreneurial challenges underpin our approach to working towards a fairer food system for all. And I think it's well worth remembering, though, that a fairer food system can also make sure that makes sense from a sort of business point of view. And just pointing to the bottom right of the slide there, where it's been estimated that meeting the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals would actually create business opportunities to the tune of $200 billion US dollars for the European agri-food system. So what exactly do we do? Well, we work across 4 areas, and I think this is one of the reasons it's sometimes quite difficult to explain what EIT Food and other KICs do, because we work across a very wide brief, really. So for EIT Food, what we do is we work and deliver activities in education, in innovation, so more of the research type programs, for entrepreneurs, and quite importantly for EIT Food, we're one of the few KICs that actually have the public engagement as one of our pillars for delivery. So if you think, I'm going to go through some examples across these different areas of education, activities, innovation, but I think it's fair to say that for innovation that we are looking probably more at the TRL levels from 4, not completely always, but often from around 4 to 7, rather so in the applied and development space rather than necessarily in the completely basic research space. I've put this slide in to help you understand the scale of our organisation and the work that we do. So broadly, we get around 50 to 60 million euros per annum. And with that, we run at least an annual innovation project competition of in excess of 10 million euros in grant. We support startups, as you can see there, that we've got 164 startups supported in 2020, and that could be in a range of different approaches. But we also, as I mentioned at the beginning, importantly, we generate new products and services that we create with our members to launch onto the market. So if we think about education, one of the key areas that we deliver activities in education is through what we call MOOCs, so the massive open online courses. And these can be a range of different types of courses. At the moment, they're all free at source, and they can be for quite simple concepts for general public use, such as understanding about nutrition of food, or they can be more complex areas, such as some of those it put here around food sustainability ideas and how farmers can contribute to that, around latest ideas in innovation in arable farming, for example. And we've also got quite a lot of activity in continued professional development. And for example, we run a sustainable aquaculture summer school that's run by SAMS up in Scotland. So can be quite advanced and quite specific, or quite general, but looking at the general public. And one of the things that we are keen to do, and I'm sure many of the others on the call are, is to improve the visibility of careers in the agri-food sector for school leavers. And everyone's facing skill shortages. And so as part of that, what we'd like to do is provide support for teachers and careers advisors to make sure that careers within the agri-food sector get introduced early on. So this is looking for sort of early teenagers and upwards. And so one of the things that we've done is we've instigated a number of these day in the life videos, which cover individuals with a range of different roles. They're professionally produced. They're very interesting, even for those of us who are maybe a little bit further along in our career. And I think it's also true to say that we're always really keen to hear recommendations and suggestions for job specs, job roles that we should be looking at. So I would recommend anybody to look in here and say, oh, if there's a particular technical role or a particular role that you can think of that is missing, please do let us know. And similarly, if you or someone that you think would make a really good subject for one of these videos, again, please do let me know. So that's a sort of couple of thoughts around education. If we then think about, I want to go through a few examples of innovation projects that we've funded quite recently. And I've chosen 3 livestock projects, but we do cover all areas. It's not just livestock that we cover, but it's just, for example, that I've chosen have been livestock. So just to give you an example of some of the other areas that we fund research in: personalised nutrition, for projects on elderly populations, on food for cancer patients, on childhood obesity issues. We've got sustainable aquaculture research projects, circular economy projects on food waste, on food safety, on supply chain issues. So we have a very broad gamut of innovation projects that we fund. But this particular one that I want to talk to you about now is has partners, as you can see along the bottom there, and all of our projects tend to be collaborative. And this one is running in commercial farms in the UK and Italy, and it's around development of a net carbon assessment dashboard. So looking at the whole farm level, but at an individual farm level, on carbon audits tools, and then using a number of methane measurements, looking at a range of parameters to consider and assess impacts. So thinking about the genetics of the animals that are on there, the food supplements, for example, and maybe more generally the management processes for that particular farm, then you can begin to understand the emissions at a farm level for that particular farm. And to counterbalance that, the farm's ability to sequester carbon is part of the assessment process. And that will then put those things together. You've got a measurable farm-specific dashboard, which will enable you to measure and manage, because we all know that you can't manage unless you measure, livestock emissions. So importantly, the project also has a public engagement work package where they will be communicating the opportunity of low carbon food, for example, but also understanding, so getting the feedback on the economics and the likely buy-in from consumers for any low carbon labelled product. So that's a quite a researchy type of project. This next second innovation project example is the pig tracker project, which Some of you may know the Agri Epicenter, for example, and this is a 2-year project scaling up pig tracker technology. So quite a different type of project really to the one above. It's much more looking at technology validation and business development and demonstrator type of activities. So a market analysis will be done during the project. This is a current project. And again, the education and knowledge exchange materials will be developed for promotion of this validated technology solution within the project itself. I want to point out, which I'm sure will come up in the questions, is that we are likely to be putting out a call for projects for funding for 23 onwards, and that is likely to come out in late spring, early summer this year. So that's the type of innovation projects, and two examples there. I'm then going to shift on to some of the main schemes that we run for entrepreneurs, and these are structural programs. So and they're run in addition to any education type of projects or schemes that we might run that are targeted at entrepreneurial subjects. These are actually targeted at the people and the companies. And these 3 programs, these structural programs, are duplicated across a number of sites within Europe. So, for example, the Seedbed Incubator is run out of Queen's University Belfast, and the EIT Food Accelerator Network is run between Cambridge and Reading locally. So if we start the thinking about these 3 structural programs, they base early ideas right the way through. So the Seedbed Incubator does, as you could possibly imagine, it thinks about individuals or small teams that have an idea that they have an idea that they would like some help on, and that could be something from their research, or it could be something from another part of their lives that seems too good an idea to ignore, that they think that there could be an opportunity for a business here, obviously within the agri-food space. And the Seedbed program helps the individuals or the team to understand whether they would have a buyer for the end product that they have in mind. So it's a market analysis, but this is something, it's through a boot camp type process to help those individuals understand market-led or customer-driven business creation and development. The accelerator program is basically a standard accelerator. So once you've actually got an idea that you have a company that would be worth, an idea that would be worth incorporating into a company, how do you make sure and understand what and who you might need to develop your business and make you investor ready, make you so that you're in a position where you can get inward investment into you to developing your business. And the final structural program is the Rising Food Stars, which is a club really for existing businesses that maybe have a strong prototype. So they should have a product either there or thereabouts ready to go, but they need help in expanding both their network and their understanding of how to deliver that product at scale, at a commercially relevant scale. So that's the 3 structural programs within the support for entrepreneurs. I want to just show you on this slide an example of a local company that have actually started to move quite well, which is this, where they took part in the Seedbed. So that's the very early stage ideas, and they now have a company working called Solublue, which is basically working on an alternative to plastic for a variety of different applications, including food use. So they the last slide here around the entrepreneurs as well is one of our rising food stars. So I told you that the rising food stars are the companies that have got the product but need that help to get it through to the commercial scale and costs often. And this company, which is a London-based company, Mimica, have a tag that enables you to understand. It's a temperature sensitive tag as well that helps to reduce food waste by replacing use by date type technology, and it's basically a freshness indicator. And they use their membership of the rising food stars to work together and build with ABP and Hain Daniels and Aarhus University an application that went in for an innovation funding to actually scale this project, scale their technology to work for meat products, so that they can use their smart tags for meat products at a commercial level. So there is an interplay there between the entrepreneur part and the innovation part. That's the example there that I'm really showing. And the last areas of activities I would like to just highlight on this whistle stop tour is the public engagement piece. It's like the education area. The public engagement work is directed at the entire ecosystem, so right the way through from the general public through to policymakers and people who maybe are within the food system too. So one thing that might be of interest to anyone on the call is to look at the Food Unfolded platform. And that is a platform with an impressive resource really of many different discussion pieces. And for example, there's an article on there posted last week entitled Cheap Seafood, the Social Cost of Production, that outlines, that considers the seafood production systems and how they affect workers and the communities that they're serving. And the focus on that particular report was in Southeast Asia. I'd also like to bring to your attention the Food Fight podcast, which again is a really to be recommended as a thoughtful listen, and it sometimes highlights issues of the day, or it might put a spotlight on a particular company, an up and coming company that have got a technology solution perhaps. So a wide range of issues covered in the Food Fight podcast. So I hope that I've given you a brief sort of understanding of the breadth of our work, and would encourage you to consider engaging with us further at EIT Food, and I'd be very, very happy to talk to anybody afterwards who would be interested in finding out more. And also to just reiterate Louise's comment that I am the Royal Society Entrepreneur in Residence for the GFEI, and that I'm an available additional resource in addition to the fantastic support that is available for researchers here, but to help you with any ideas that you might need a little bit of someone to chat to about industry interaction or any new business creation. Thanks very much, Louise.
Thank you very much, Jane. A colleague has asked whether we can share the PDF of the presentation via email.
Of course, yeah.
I think,
sorry.
Sylvia, it will be available on the website so people can download it rather than bombarding Jane with emails. Jane, in order to start off the questions, I had a couple of questions. Mm-hmm. One of them was, I noticed that there are 4 academic HEIs involved in EIT Food, and you said that it was a membership organisation.
Yes.
And then you went on to talk about the projects that are going to be advertised in the call in 2023. Yes. And I think it might be really useful just to clarify for the people that are on the call who can apply for those projects, because it's a membership organisation. So I don't think it's a free-for-all like every other grant application.
No, well, it's an open application from now on. So we're now within Horizon Europe. So basically, the application is open to all all HEIs. It's the other good news is that UK HEIs will be covered by the hopefully will be associated by then, but for the 22, obviously we've had a lot of problems with Brexit and not associating to Horizon Europe, but the British government have actually stepped in and sorted that problem for us, which has been great. So it's an open application, but if you actually have a project, you would become part of the network.
Right. And is there a fee to become part of the network?
There is a fee, and that will all be changing in 2023. So there will be a lot of sort of changes that from the classic approach that we take now. So at the moment, we're a membership organisation where we have a fairly simple structure where we have a gold membership, a silver membership, an SME membership, and a network membership. And so, and associated with that are amounts of money that you're allowed to draw down out of that central pot. That will be changing as of 23. So there will be an administrative fee for any projects that are being run. So, but that will be separate from sort of the broader networking activities. Does that make sense, Louise?
It does to me. I want to make sure that it's clear for people who are on the call. So if those projects are advertised in 2022 to start in 2023, what I understood, correct me if I'm wrong, is that anybody could apply for those projects. They would need to be collaborative, presumably with industry partners.
That's yes, and across more than one region. Yes.
Right. So that is a bit like an EU project where we're in the Northwest region. So we would be looking for people who were in Southeast or Southwest or
that's right.
Whatever. Yeah. So outside of Ireland and Iceland and the rest of the UK.
Yes. Yes.
And then we would, if we were successful with our project selection, we would pay a fee, but we would be able to then draw down the funding.
Fundamentally, yes.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, so it is definitely open, and it's one of those things that if it will all be explained really clearly in the invitation to actually put in projects. So what you need to do. So the guidelines around the competition will clearly explain who you need in your consortium.
And if I was an SME listening to this call, because there might be people from Nexus or from other parts of the university that are in spin-out companies, etc. So if I was an SME, would I be allowed to partner with academics from Leeds, or would I have to find academics elsewhere?
No, you would be able to partner with academics from Leeds, but you would also probably have to find maybe another partner in a different region in addition. So it's a little bit of you do need, we are trying to encourage that pan-European collaboration.
Okay, so if there are people from SMEs on the call and they want to explore this a little bit further, then you would be a first point of call, or GFEI could also try to link the people from companies with academics in the university who might be able to help and have some guidance from you.
And I would also say, Louise, that we would definitely, if you have coming out of Leeds, any startups or associated with Leeds, any startups who feel that they would be good candidates for the Rising Food Stars scheme, then, definitely I would encourage them to talk to us and see whether or not we can get them through. It is a competitive process. There is a fixed number of at any one particular point in time, but it is something where I think people would get the benefit because they get the chance to speak to other universities, but they also get a chance to speak to larger companies. And as in the example with Mimica there, they had a technology that then worked for those larger companies in terms of their particular, they were meat products, so that technology can be used in a variety of different ways, but they were able to then build a project together, which was then funded.
Right, and I've now got some questions in the chat, Jane. So
yeah.
One of them is from Hayati, who is an EIT alumni for GFVP Stage 2. Hopefully that means something to you. And she's interested in doing market validation and making fit to market. Do you have any recommendations about who I can contact or to get more support? And the project is about halal traceability.
I would suggest that she drops me a line offline, because I won't know the answer to that immediately. So
okay. Yeah. And then Thomas Freshgraves has asked what the level of funding is that's available to the entrepreneurship program participants.
It depends. It's in the small tens of thousands for the seedbed, and it's a combination of support plus investment for FAN, whereby we actually will actually make physical investments in people for many tens of thousands of euros after they've gone through the program. So all of that detail can be found on the website, and if people are interested, I would say that again, I can put people in touch with specific people who are dealing with the detail on that individual programs. So it's quite a wide range though.
Okay, and it sounds like it's a staged thing, Jane.
That's right. So it doesn't mean that you have to start at seedbed and then go to FAN. So if you are actually ready for FAN now, then you go into FAN. So that's the accelerator. But if you're ready for seedbed, you go into seedbed. So if you're very, very early stage, and
okay.
if you apply and it's felt that you're actually applying for the wrong program, you will actually be contacted and we will transfer you over to the other program.
Okay, and it sounds like Thomas is actually from a small company called Freshgraves. It's not his surname. I've now seen the picture on the web, so apologies, Thomas. Then somebody called Van der Voorde has asked, when a project is already receiving Fast Track Innovation Programme under Horizon 2020, could they still get funding or support from EIT?
So they've get from Fast Track from Horizon 2020.
Yeah.
It would. I think it would have to be new work. You can't double fund, basically.
Yes.
So
you'd have to find a niche that wasn't covered by the Fast Track.
So say I mean, I know we've done this in the past where we've looked at say for example your work's taking you to generate outputs in 3 areas, but there are 3 or 4 other areas that you could go in if you had the little bit of extra money. Then if it was something like that, then that might work. So if it was something that could broaden and it made sense, but I would say
you couldn't duplicate.
You definitely can't duplicate. You can't get paid twice to do the same thing. So it would all depend. Sorry, that's not a very satisfactory answer,
but I think you could possibly be quite creative there about the sorts of directions that you might want to take your technology and apply it that wasn't in your initial funding, for example.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
And again, Kim, if you want to talk to Jane, maybe that's a good thing to reach out on.
Yeah.
In terms of I don't have any more questions in the chat, but one of the things I was going to ask you about, Jane, was about developing MOOCs. So you said that the MOOCs that are available, and I think we've got huge capabilities within Leeds to develop MOOCs.
Yeah.
And that at the moment those are free for people to take, so people could dip into those if they wanted to from an educational point of view.
Yes.
But what I'm wondering about is, given that we have developed a number of MOOCs at Leeds and we have a lot of capability in that kind of area, is if we wanted to develop a MOOC or more than one MOOC, would the developer, is there funding to enable that to be developed from EIT Food? Is that how it works? Or?
Yes. yes. And a lot of the original MOOCs were developed completely within the universities, whereas it's now a bit more of a co-creation between the education team and universities. But in terms of the specific availability of funding, I would have to double check with Vivian Bodereau, who's the person who's in charge of that. So I can put that forwards. Yeah.
Excellent.
MOOCs, massive online open courses, Carleen.
Okay, and some of those can be used for CPD. So I'm hoping that while Jayne is here as our entrepreneur in residence, we can explore some of those particular offerings. And I noticed that there are people on this call who are from different universities. So I see Lund, that would be in a different EIT range. So if there are interests there, those are good opportunities. So summarizing, then we need to go for those project calls. You would need to have an industry partner. You would need to have partners from industry or academia in other regions other than the Northwest. And you would have to have an idea that is very much in the technology readiness levels 4 to 6.
Yeah, that sort of area. And it's one of those things that we, the competition will outline those areas that we are particularly interested in to fulfill our strategic demands, basically, so we have to consider our portfolio of work and the KPIs that we have to fulfill for EIT. And so one of the things that sort of one of the downsides maybe of the money is that you get the money, but it's very definitely not a BBSRC. That would be nice to have something positive out at the end. It is, the KPIs are very, very harsh, hardline KPIs, and they need to be met.
So this would align perhaps with something like a knowledge transfer partnership that colleagues might be aware of, that kind of thing.
That's, yes, much more like that. And it's one of those things that one understands that research doesn't always work, but as a portfolio, we have to hit a certain number of outputs around, not just around dissemination, which we have to do obviously with the dissemination, but around new products and new services. And so to be able to demonstrate that what we've done is going to commercial use.
And I guess, thinking about this call coming out in spring or summer, it's obviously going to be in the agri-food area.
That's right.
Yeah, one of the hot topics at the moment seems to be plant-based diets. And I'm wondering whether you can give us any hints as to those gaps that you are seeking to fill. I know this is recorded, Jayne.
I think it's fair to say that we have as a priority the diversification of proteins as a priority, which of course plant-based diets would be part of that. But it's, because we do consider the entire food system, we're also interested in where people who are raising livestock are getting their protein from as well. So I think that we would be interested in that as an area. What we tend to do is we tend to have fairly open brief, but in much the same way, if anybody's used to looking at the Innovate UK type of competition outlines, where you have, these are the broad areas that we would like to cover, and we can, they will come out, but then we especially welcome things from protein diversification, for example.
Okay. And some of those hot topics will be on the website so that people can see whether their idea or their company falls within that remit.
That's right. And, so it is a fairly broad idea. You won't be too surprised by the focal area. So, as you said, we will be thinking about protein diversification. We'll be thinking about personalized nutrition within its broadest context. So making sure that we have a diet that encourages health and well-being for all. So whether that's you know, for elderly people or for children or whatever. This circular food systems is a clear priority for us, thinking about waste and any overlap. So if you think about the Mimica example that I gave you there, you've got that sort of you've got the food safety aspect, but you've also got the reduction of waste. So if people know that by using that smart tag that meat is safe to eat, then you actually reduce waste as well. So so anything around those broad areas. Yeah.
Okay, so any further questions from anyone in the audience? Does anyone want to ask anything else that we might not have covered? I think, Jayne, this has been really useful. I guess what I would do is suggest to people that they have a look at the EIT website, that we make use of you while you are still our entrepreneur in residence. It would be great. Jayne is coming to university occasionally and I guess can meet with people.
Yeah.
And obviously is available on email. And as Sarah said, we'll make sure that all of the slides, the recordings and the links that are in those slides will be up on the website in the next couple of days. So I think it just remains for me to thank you very much, Jayne. And thanks everyone else. If you're interested in the GFEI events, please just check up on the website and we will update them as soon as possible.
Thanks very much, Louise.
Thanks ever so much.